say this again. Welcome to Mary Walter Radio, the podcast. Great to have you join me. And to all the wonderful new subscribers and my new subscribers, I'll read out your names again just in case, because I don't know what happened. That's kind of weird. Bednars M3, Kendra, Vinny, Jim, Howard, JDA, Edlo, David, I think Louise, Herb, William, all new subscribers. Thank you so much for subscribing. Please like the podcast. If you go through and watch old ones, which I encourage you to do, there's some great guests in there. Look for the one with James Rosen. That was one of the best podcasts we ever did. It was so much fun, and he went on forever, and he's fascinating, and we didn't talk about politics at all. So check out that, but please like them if you watch them. The audio will be available on Apple Podcasts and Spotify probably tomorrow because I have a show to prep for tomorrow. So after that, I'll probably get it up. It's a lot of work. And if you are new to the podcast, I was saying, in case this didn't get out there, I'm going to repeat myself. Sorry if it did get out there before. I've been doing the Wendy Bell Show for 2 days. I'm going to do it again tomorrow. And her listeners are amazing, absolutely unbelievable. And I was saying how usually when I do somebody, I fill in for somebody else, they're fiercely loyal to the host, and I get it, and I appreciate that, and they're, wonderful, fiercely loyal listeners. But I always get nasty comments. Not not many sometimes, but sometimes there's always at least one.
Oh yeah.
And it has been nothing but love from Wendy's audience. So you guys are absolutely unbelievably amazing. So thank you for making me feel so welcome doing that show. I was really nervous about it, and you're unbelievable. So thank you to everyone who is new. And let me introduce my guest again, Melanie Collette, who is the former vice chair of the New Jersey Federation of Republican Women. So let's hop to it here. We have a lot of comments, a lot of people chiming in. So I'm sure all of our regulars here, and I bet you there are some new ones here as well. We've got Ron, we've got Bill, Dan, Squeaky. I hope we get to talk about the Harris memory holes. If we don't get to it today, I will get to it tomorrow on the Wendy Bell Show. And you can listen. There's a Wendy Bell Radio app. You can also go to wendybell.com and also look for Wendy Bell Radio on Rumble and on X. Those are all the ways you can listen. She is on some stations terrestrially, mostly out in Pennsylvania, that area. But if you're out that way, you can. Ron says, the Babylon Bee, Google search confirms Kamala Harris did not exist prior to July 22nd, 2024. Dan, I'm in Florida in a condo community campaigning door to door. Republican voters only. We have the voter sheets and stopped by security. It's solicitation and not allowed. But we continued. Any laws that you know that okay this? Melanie, is that something you would know anything about? I don't know.
No. Any laws that okay this?
It's Florida too, so it may be a state thing.
Republican voters, okay. No, it's not soliciting though. That's the thing. That's not considered soliciting. As far as I know, that's not considered soliciting.
Yeah, so there you go. And good for you, Dan, getting out the voters.
Yeah.
Let's see, Watching Your Back is here. Now Tax USA is here. It says hello, Squeaky. Let's see. Carl is new. Carl, welcome. Mary in the morning, Mary in the evening, Mary again for Wendy tomorrow, all over again. Yes. And then on Thursday and Friday, I will be back on WPHT out of Philadelphia on Kale and Company, 6 to 10 a.m. And that is also on YouTube. You can watch that on YouTube, 6 to 10 a.m. Look for 1210 WPHT, and you can join us. Go ahead.
By the way, I feel the same way about Wendy Bell's audience. I've never subbed for her, but I've been a guest many times.
Oh, you have? So they know you. This is great.
Yeah. I've been a guest.
Oh, perfect.
I've been a guest on Wendy Bell a few times. Yep.
Love it. That's great. I didn't know that. Wow, this is kismet. It's meant to be.
Yeah, people, as far as the soliciting thing, there are people in general, I think that like anytime you knock on their door, it's soliciting. But soliciting is really only if you're selling something.
Okay.
And electioneering is not soliciting.
Dan says her name is Kamila. Oreo said, hello, Oreo. How are you? Oreo told me he was going to be in tonight. We're on. Oreo said he had to do some research to get to you. I literally tweeted out every link. I tweeted out every link.
The links were not where I actually had a couple of friends text me and say, I tried to get on the YouTube link and it wasn't working. So when I copied and pasted the link, the paste didn't work out.
That's so interesting. I wonder if there's a problem because like we weren't on, you
Yeah.
know. I wonder if there's a problem.
But I went
So,
back to your original post on
yeah.
Twitter. That's why, for the audience's sake, like if you saw me looking down, I wasn't trying to be rude. I was actually just trying to get the link out because people were texting me and saying that the link wasn't working. I was like, well, let me go get the original one and send
If
you that
if
link. So that's why I was looking down. I wasn't
okay,
trying to be rude.
that's fine. I wasn't gonna say anything to your face anyway.
You were
Um,
even going to say, like, when we were on a break, like, ma'am, can you pay attention to what I'm saying? I'm sorry.
there's no breaks. I was just gonna talk about you later. Um,
Listen, but that's what I was doing. Apologies.
Oh, okay. No. So in the future, if you ever have a hard time with it, I don't know why. I never knew that that happened with the link. I never knew that. It's just Mary, go to YouTube/Mary Walter Radio/streams. That's it. Okay.
Yep.
So that's the easy way to do it. Eric Jessup says, "Hey, Melanie.
Hey,
Prince
Eric. Eric out of DC.
out of DC. That's awesome.
Yep. Longtime
Uh,
fan.
why hasn't dances? No, he's a lawyer. Why hasn't Kamala taken in an illegal or four? And Lee Goodman on Web this morning said she made a fatal mistake by not starting an independent committee before she took the money.
Oh, well,
She's
that's
still,
an
I
excellent
got it.
point. That's an excellent
Go
point.
ahead.
And, we hear she's evolved on many of her positions that she had only 4 years ago.
Yeah, it's amazing. She has been on every side. Who wasn't it Reagan who said that, Yellow? So you've been on every side of every issue.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I
If I
think
didn't know any better, I would think she's a card-carrying opportunist that really doesn't care about her constituents or her people or anything and just cares about the power that she can hold by getting elected. But listen, I could be wrong.
shocked. Oreo said he saw you on Wendy.
Me or you? Both of us.
I think it's you.
Yes. I've done Wendy Bell probably like 10 times. It's been a few times.
Oh,
Yes.
fantastic. Star Driver One is a regular. Says Google has not taken down that Kamala's dad is a Marxist, which
Ah,
we know he was a Marxist professor.
well, that's kind of them to keep that up. We appreciate it.
Can I just say that was funny? May I just say I never. Why do people still use Google? Like seriously, why don't you use Bing or DuckDuckGo? I've been using DuckDuckGo probably for 5 years now.
Same.
So
Yes.
why do people still use Google? Are you lazy? What is it? Use Google and just type in DuckDuckGo if you don't want to put the new browser on. Just do that at
Google
least.
is complete foolishness.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
Like they don't mean what they say about, like, I forget what their motto used to be or still is, like, don't be mean or whatever it is. And I'm like, that's literally like, you guys are literally the opposite of that. Just
Exactly.
terrible. Yeah. You
Carl,
go
go
ahead.
ahead. No,
Sorry.
Carl says the only part of the First Amendment that's protected and sacred is political free speech. If you get dragged into court like I did, you will discover the truth, and I won my case. Good
I
for
love it.
him. Dan says we are going legal. Collette is correct. Even though the HOA COA said no, we can assert yes, FEC rules and Florida stats too. There we go. You go, Collette. Look at you.
That's right. It's actually Melanie, but a lot of people call me Collette. It's okay. It
Oh,
happens.
that's true. Melly, I don't know why I keep calling you Collette. I'm so sorry. I haven't, you
That's
know
okay
why?
because I have two first names, and
Well, so do
that's it.
I, but nobody's calling me Walter. So,
Okay.
um,
It happens. It happens all the time. I'll introduce myself. My name is Melanie Collette, and they'll say, "It's so nice to meet you, Collette."
yeah, I'm so sorry. I apologize. Thank you for correcting me. I appreciate that. So, funny story as a side note, when I was in college, my freshman class was the biggest class they ever had coming in, and there weren't enough dorms for women. And it was segregated men and women. It's Catholic school, and it was men and women. And now they're integrated by floors, but it's men and women. And so there wasn't enough room. So I didn't get housing. It was like, oh well. So my roommate didn't get housing. She was also from my high school. We were not friends. She was a cheerleader and I was a dork. So, it was, but our mothers decided we should live together. So,
Ah,
yay. And then they met two other women who had daughters and the four moms loved each other. So they thought we should all get along and we should all get an apartment together. So we went to this apartment complex that was renting out for some stupid reason, four of their buildings. It was huge. It was like 20 buildings to Villanova students. And they
ah,
were all Villanova. So it was like living in a dorm. The one we got put in We were the only apartment of women. It was supposed to be only men because you couldn't get into the building from the parking lots. They didn't consider it secure for women. But my name was the first name on the list, and my last name was Walter, so it was Walter, comma Mary. And so they thought we were guys.
Of course, of course.
Oh God, it never
And I guess
stopped.
we just completely excuse the fact that it was last name first. We're just going to ignore that. I guess he just
Yeah.
ignored that little fact.
But on the upside, and they were almost all senior guys, because mostly senior guys lived off campus. We had, 20 apartments of Big Brothers, which was kind of nice. They looked after us. I never felt not safe or anything like that. So it worked out in that sense. And they had really great parties, and they would let us enter for free if we agreed to serve beer. So we're like, okay.
Deal.
Uh, Carl said, sorry, Melanie. Kermit Sal, Kamala wants to do a gun grab. I think she will try to do this despite the Second Amendment. Biden ignored a SCOTUS ruling, so why wouldn't Kamala ignore SCOTUS rulings and other laws via perhaps executive order?
Oh yeah. Why? Yeah, I completely agree. They don't care about things like the Constitution and the Supreme Court. If if the Supreme Court doesn't agree with them, then obviously the Supreme Court is bad. Like that is how they look at it. Look what Biden is supposedly trying to do, which is not going to happen. It's just a vote grab, in my opinion. They're not going to. They need a constitutional amendment to do.
Right.
Most of what they're talking about doing. So it's a bunch of foolishness. But I think what they are relying on is that the electorate at large are not constitutional scholars and don't bury their head in public policy the way, those of us who are in the business, so to speak, do. And they rely on that and just listen to what they say. And well, when Biden gets in office, it's just like, all black folks were going to be rich when Obama got elected. It's that same like foolishness that the left continues to tell their constituents to get votes to stay in power. It's
Yeah.
ridiculousness, and it's never going to happen.
And they buy it. And they buy it, which is amazing to me. Low information voters. Scott says this is interesting. He said the comments are coming in fast and furious, and I have a lot of video I want to get to. Some of it's really funny. One piece, the first piece, if you listen to the Wendy Bell show, we cut it up and played it for you in 4 different sections. I'm just going to do the whole thing in one fell swoop, so it's a little bit longer, but we can stop it and comment along the way if you want to. Scott said for Dan, notify the local sheriff's office that you're going to be in the neighborhood, and if security says anything, tell them that you called the local sheriff's office. It seems to be
Nice.
an easy way to handle it. So thank you for that, Scott. Okay, let me see. Watching your back says, being that you're in New Jersey, is that state flippable, Melanie?
Yes. So I'm in New Jersey, but I live in Cape May County, New Jersey. And for a frame of reference, those of you who follow Trump, he had a rally in Wildwood, New Jersey. That's in my county. And full disclosure, I'm an elected official here in Cape May County. Um, and Trump wins by like 10,000 votes. Every time he runs for like the last two elections, he's won by like 10,000 votes. And there are pockets of New Jersey that are red. I would say that Cape May County is the reddest, but it's pretty close. And one of the things that Mary and I were talking about before we went live is the fact that, or at least this is what I said, that when it comes to polling, that Trump is typically underestimated. If you recall in 2016 when he won, all the polls said that he was going to take an L. And he did not. For me, when the polls are within the margin of error, I forget where he is in New Jersey at this point, but when the
Oh,
polls are within the margin of error, that looks good for Trump, in my opinion,
yeah, I can
because
look
he's
that up.
always underestimated.
Yeah, Trump.
But I think that it is. I think it's. Listen, I believe anything's possible. And that's why I don't like this whole narrative. Well, New Jersey always loses anyway. Like there's Republicans that say, oh, well, New Jersey always loses anyway, so my vote doesn't
Right.
matter. Well, boneheads, if everybody thinks that way and doesn't vote, then statistically you voted for the opposition. How about we do this? How about everybody vote for the candidate that they want and stop being
There you
wimps?
go. I
How
agree.
about vote for who you want? Because when you don't, if you write your name in, if you don't vote for Trump, if you in any other way don't vote for who you want to win, vote for the policy you want, then that is a statistical vote for the opposition.
Yeah,
Understand that. At the end of the day, it's a numbers game. So all you like anti-Trumpers and I don't like Trump and being like whiny little brats about some very serious stuff, which is who's going to be the next POTUS in New Jersey, get it together, do what you got to do, and vote wisely. Stop being a
exactly.
wuss.
So the latest poll from 538, and they collate the polls, is June 27th, and that's still Trump and Biden, and Trump was up by 1%. With Harris in the game, I think that flips right around, and it's going to be a lot more points, by
It
a lot more
might, but
points.
that makes in my mind where like a Republican usually loses, takes a L by like 20 points every presidential. I that to me says New Jersey's in play if it's that close.
I hope so. I hope so. I wish the National would get involved. Now, Tax USA, good friends of the show, say hey, here's an idea. All executive orders have to go straight to the Supreme Court for approval.
Nah,
You don't like that? Well, some of them are unconstitutional, though, and then they have to be fought, through the
that's
courts,
true.
and they don't get anywhere because the left uses lawfare, and then when the right tries to stop the left when they pass an executive order, it takes forever to stop them because Biden and Obama both just ignored lower court rulings saying that you can't build the wall or whatever it happened to be. They just ignore it
You know
and
what,
they get
Mary?
away
I'm
with
going to
it.
evolve on my opinion on that then and say you're right about that. I'm going to do the typical politician thing and evolve here.
So, okay, Kamala.
You, you've convinced me that might be a good
uh,
idea.
Uh, okay, so I can't, we have so many comments. This is a great thing to problem to have, but we can't get to all of them and I can't put all of them up, but we'll get there. Porch View Farm says she loves Kate May. Let's see. There's some private conversations going back and forth on here.
No,
Oreo says
I love it.
Dan and Scott are just having a conversation about security guards. Oreo said he is still a deplorable. Yes, although I'm a weirdo now. I'm going to be weirdos for Trump. That's my new thing. Uh, Kathy Hochul thumbed her nose at Clarence Thomas and five other justices on their ruling against New York State and the unconstitutional gun laws enacted in 1911, the Sullivan Act, and she imposed additional prohibitions. Yeah, that's what they do. That is exactly what they do.
It's called the Supreme Court for a reason. It's supreme.
Well, they just discredit it. That's what they do.
I,
Gregory says if there was one thing that 2016 taught me is that no polls are ever to be believed.
I wouldn't go that far, but I would say that you have to view polls with a skeptical eye. You have to look at how many people were polled, who was polled. If it's just like average voters or just like everyday average people, like I don't even consider polls that are not likely voters because most people don't. A lot of people don't even vote. I shouldn't say most, but a lot of people don't bother to vote at all. So if those people are being polled, who
Well,
cares?
I'm a big fan of fewer voters if they're more. I would take fewer people voting if the ones who vote know what the hell they're talking about.
Well, that is the part.
I'm for quality, not quantity.
I'm with you.
That's just me. Mangle Mush says 1210 WPHT here. Yes, I will be
Woo!
talking to you Thursday
I
morning.
didn't realize you were like a Philly area. Like I'm originally from Philly. I used to teach at the Haverford School right down the
Ah,
street from Villanova.
my
I
senior
used to work there, not
year.
teach there. I used to work there.
Well, when I was rushing my sorority, when we were pledges, they kidnapped us with the Delts and dropped us off at Haverford Boys School.
Yes,
And
that's
we
where
had
I
to we
worked for 14
I we
years.
had to get back, and it was great. We had to get back to a certain house where they were going to have a party, and we actually beat the sisters and the Delts back to the party because there's a bus. You guys apparently have a bus or a hockey bus or something. So they just one of the house brothers or whatever, the guy loaded us in the bus and took us where we needed to
Nice.
go. And
That was
then
a great place to work. Yeah.
I lived right around the corner from the Marion Cricket Club my senior year.
Oh yeah, right there. Yep.
Yeah. Let's see. Scott says, I'm afraid Kama's a little bit heartless, worse than a regular politician. Former President Trump at least has a heart. Yeah, not according
I
to the
agree with that.
left. Eric says he agrees with you. A constitution provides for three separate branches. Yes, but you would never know that.
Facts.
Carl, those additional laws include an ammunition ban. Okay, all the additional laws in New York. Dan says even EOs must be allowed. Even George Washington issued executive orders. Yeah, but to Eric's point here, the keyword is separate.
Ah,
And
ah.
yeah, yeah,
Eric's a smart dude. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
We're gonna have a problem
Uh,
with him during the show. Uh, Porch View says, I love being a weirdo. I feel 16 again. Post cool.
same porch, same. I'm with you.
Okay, so I want to get to this because this is going to be long. If you listen to or watch Wendy's show, you heard this. But this lays out, and this is what I want to talk about and really get into here. I will get to more of your questions. I appreciate your questions. But if we could just do questions in the comments, that would be great for a little while, just so we can get to everything we want to get to, because I have some fun videos too for that I want to play. And so let's go to here. And Jerry said here, 19 people watching on YouTube. As far as I remember, Mary, that's a new record. The funniest thing is the count isn't correct because when we end it, it'll say, I don't know how many people watched, and it's never like 19. Like last week, it said nobody watched live on YouTube. Yeah, people were leaving comments. So this is so if you watch again, bear with me. This is Shahid Bolson. Now, depending on who you speak to, Shahid Bolson is a murderer and a terror suspect, or he's a CIA spook. And I'm a big fan of both can be possible at the same time,
Sure. Yeah.
right?
Yep.
So, either way, what he says here, I think, needs to be listened to. And this to me sums up what happens in elections, what the Democrats are doing. They do it all the time, and Republicans can't seem to figure it out. So let me share screen. Uh, this one, share. Okay. And here we go.
Well, I mean, obviously, there's not a question about whether or not they have free and fair elections in the United States. Why would they? Why would you think that they did? They interfere with elections all around the world. They interfere with the election just recently in South Africa. They interfere with elections in Georgia. They interfere with elections everywhere they go. They subvert democracy all around the world. What makes you think that they wouldn't subvert democracy right there at home? Of course they do. Well, I think that they interfere and subvert democracy in their own country uh, more effectively and more comprehensively than they're even able to do it in other countries. And we know that they're able to do it in other countries extremely well and extremely effectively and get the results that they want. So do you think that they're not going to ensure that they get the results that they want in their own country? Of course they do. You'd be naive to think that they don't. They didn't just find out that Joe Biden has experienced cognitive decline. They didn't just find out that the man has dementia. All of those people in the Democratic Party who were pushing for him to step down or pushing for him to not seek re-election, they've been interacting with him. They've been talking to him. They know perfectly well that the man has lost his mind, and they've been knowing that for 4 years, and they didn't mind. This isn't about wanting him to step down or wanting him to step aside because they think that he's not competent. No one ever thought he was competent. What it's about is that you know that when your own people, your own Democrats, your own liberals are making fun of Joe Biden online, on social media, on television, in the mainstream media, and so on, the man has become a laughingstock. That means that him winning in a rigged election wouldn't be plausible. No one would believe that. It was barely believable even in 2020. So there's no way that you could get people to actually believe that Democrats turned out in significant enough numbers to give Joe Biden a victory in 2024. He was asked to step down or asked to step aside because the Democratic Party knows that if they want to sell their appointed president to the public as if they were democratically elected, there has to be some degree of plausibility to that. You see, if they could have, they would have given the Democratic Alliance in South Africa the full victory, but it wasn't plausible. So there has to be some degree of believability. I don't think Kamala Harris is any more popular than Joe Biden, and she's not much of a better speaker. It's a choice between Kamala Harris, who always sounds like she's a little bit drunk, or Joe Biden, who sounds like he's in a perpetual fugue state. However, with Kamala Harris, you have certain factors that will be very appealing to the liberal base, to the Democratic base, that allow you to craft a narrative that makes her victory plausible, regardless of whether she gets the votes or not. If she's appointed as the winner in a rigged, unfree, unfair election, which is what you have in the United States, because, as I say, that's what the United States tries to ensure you have everywhere else in the world. So you better believe that they make sure that in their own country, it's just as controlled and managed a process as it is a controlled and managed process anywhere else in the world that the U.S. has a hand in it. So when they appoint the candidate whom they want to win, who they've decided to win, who the oligarchs have decided should win, they need there to be some democratic plausibility to that win to make people think, either make people think that yes, they did this candidate did in fact win, or you make such a convincing and coercive and manipulative narrative around that candidate that no one will admit that they didn't vote for that candidate. In other words, she's going to be the first woman president. Well, wouldn't you be ashamed of yourself if you didn't vote to break the presidential glass ceiling? She's a woman of color. Well, wouldn't you be ashamed to say that you didn't vote for a woman of color? Well, that would make you a racist. If you don't vote for her, then the only two reasons that could possibly be is because she's a woman and she's a woman of color. So that means you're a misogynist and you're a racist. So you can craft a narrative around her that everyone will want to say that they voted for her, even if they didn't turn out to vote at all. Because we're going to hear nothing for the next 3 months except how excited the Democrats are, how reinvigorated they are, and how thrilled and breathless with anticipation the American people are for being able to finally achieve this first woman presidency in the United States. Everyone is excited about it. So therefore, when she is appointed as the president, if that's what happens, when she is appointed as the president, everyone can believe that the hype got her elected, even if no one shows up at the voting booth. And when everyone starts cheering in triumph and applauding and congratulating themselves for being so progressive and so liberal as to elect the first woman president and the first woman of color as president, well, no one will be willing to say that they never voted for her. So it's a very, you have a lot of strategies that you can use to convince people that it's either believable that she won or it's unthinkable that you would deny that she won. So I don't know if that's what's going to happen, but I don't for a second believe that they have free and fair elections in the United States, and I think you'd be a fool to believe that. So you either have, as someone said on Twitter or X, someone said, well, whose narrative do you think is going to win? Because that's all it comes down to is the narrative. You don't have to have a candidate who can actually get voter turnout. You don't have a candidate who can actually win. You don't need that. Narratives win elections, not candidates and not policies. And what I mean by that is not that the one who has the best narrative will win, but the one who has the best narrative that makes their win plausible, that makes people think that it could have actually happened through a legitimately democratic process, which isn't something that occurs in the United States. So someone asked the question, whose narrative will win in the end? Trump's narrative of I'm bulletproof, or Kamala Harris's narrative of I'm going to be the first black woman president? Well, the answer to that question, when you're talking about American politics and American society, is which narrative will people feel ashamed not to subscribe to? I think that this election is really going to show, even more clearly than everything else that we've seen over the course of the genocide in Gaza, I think that this election is going to show very clearly the battle between the OCGFC, the global-minded OCGFC, and the OCGFC who are affiliated with the neocons. This is a battle between the two, because I think that the globally oriented OCGFC are more likely to support Donald Trump, and the neocons are more likely to support Kamala Harris. So what?
So let's just take this down and bring us back here. So I wasn't quite sure where he was going with OC, GFC. I wasn't sure where that was. But overall, I saw you shaking your head yes and shaking your head no. But this is one of the things that bothers me, and this is why we did play this on Wendy Bell yesterday, but I wanted to do it again today because you were coming on. Because this is the thing that drives me crazy about the Republicans. The Democrats always control the narrative. They control the language we use. They control the narrative, and the Republicans allow it to continually happen. I don't understand that. Can you explain that to me?
I don't understand that one either. On especially in a presidential election, I don't know why they allow that. They sometimes, a lot of times, to our frustration, they don't ask the right questions in order to steer the narrative in the direction that it should go. They just let them have this narrative and let them
Yep.
run with it.
Yep.
I agree with that. I think to some degree, because we pride ourselves on kind of taking the high road and being the real party of democracy and all that kind of thing, that keeps us from getting down in the dirt with with Democrats. And we need to get dirty. We need to get down there in the dirt with them and say the real thing and say the things that are uncomfortable and all of that thing, despite um, what the mainstream media is going to say about us. So to your point, I get it like that. And that is um, awfully frustrating. It
Right.
certainly is.
Yeah.
Because if you
And
don't win at the end of the day, then what does it matter?
that's what I say all the time. Like to your point that you said, like they don't like to get down in the mud. When you allow your opponent to control where the game is played, the rules of the game, who plays the game, and you said to go, well, we don't want to stoop to their level. You ain't never gonna win. Which is why Donald Trump now is saying, I don't know if I'm going to debate Kamala Harris. They said, oh, he's backing out. He's like, no, I agreed to those rules with Joe Biden, not with Kamala Harris. And I gave him a lot of credit for agreeing to those rules. They put down because it was they picked the playground, they picked the toys, they picked the rules, they picked the game that was going to be played, they picked everything. And I think Donald Trump is fine to say no. You know what? I get a say now. Why do they get
That
control over everything? I get a say now, and they're going, "Oh, he doesn't want it. He doesn't want to debate. He will."
No, that's exactly right. Well, what they're trying to do, at least it's pretty clear to me, that they're trying to create this air of inevitability with Kamala Harris. Like
Right.
she's not the nominee yet. So what are we doing? And there are some people like I'm having some behind the scenes conversations, and there are people that don't believe she is going to be the nominee, which I find pretty interesting. And the volatility that has existed in this election cycle, I don't think that is completely unreasonable to say that, well, heck, who knows who's going to be the real nominee come convention time. Now, I forget what the deadline is for the Democrats, but the
It's
convention time's on the
soon.
19th of August.
Yeah, but the deadline to get on in a lot of states is before the Democrat National Convention. I would
Right.
not put it past them though that if she starts to lose, like she's in the honeymoon phase right now, but James Carville said it's downhill from here. Like it's downhill from here, but what they're going to do is she will be tightly controlled to control the message. This guy was totally right. Shahid was absolutely right. They craft the narrative around her. The state-run media runs with that narrative. You see, as one of the viewers had posted, Kamala didn't exist before January 27th of 2024. She didn't exist. She had no positions on anything, and so they were erasing everything, rewriting history because that's what they do. And Republicans sit there and go, oh, look what they did. Oh, they do it every time. How are you not prepared for this game? I don't understand how you're not prepared for this move. You knew it was going to happen. I don't
And
understand.
they
I don't know
did
what they
that
would
with
do. I
they
just
did
don't
that
get
with
it.
Biden though too. They
Right.
cast they gaslit us. I'm surprised there is any more gas left in the world with the amount of gaslighting that the mainstream media and the left did with Joe Biden. When you think about it, they kept telling us, including Kamala, completely complicit, saying, "Oh, he's sharp as a whip. I can barely keep up. I'm 60 years old, but I cannot keep up with an 81-year-old man." Interns are like, "Oh my goodness, we're just exhausted around the president." Like they kept doing that over and over and over again, and making that the narrative and telling us that we were not seeing what we're seeing. And they're doing the same thing with Kamala. So, and I think we need to call that out a whole lot sooner. And to your point about what President Trump did as far as Kamala, because at first I was like, wait, what is he doing? But then when I thought about it, I'm like, wait a minute, she's not the nominee yet. And good for you. He's in a good strategic position to say, I got some rules. Like, I played by your rules during that first debate, and you still took a huge L. Now I got some demands. Because at this point, Kamala needs Trump more than Trump needs Kamala, in my opinion.
So two things. This is what I have, two different predictions that are going to happen, and then I'll get to some of your comments. And I have more. I've got some fun stuff coming up too. So if we get to it, time's flying on this.
It's flying.
Probably because of our false start. We lost we lost like 2 minutes there. So two things are going to happen. Either, to your point, she's not going to be the nominee. If she starts to drop in the polls before the convention, they're going to switch her out again, and it's going to be Mark Kelly. And Donald Trump is right. Like, he's not going to do it. And they're smart. They leave very little time for any kind of campaigning, right? They're smart. Now, if they do keep her in, I say she doesn't debate, because they will keep her from any kind of questions from the press. Everything she does will be in controlled rallies where there's a teleprompter, and that's it. There will be no questions from the press. They won't be able to get close enough to her to ask her questions. She will not have like a town hall. If she does, it'll be a Joe Biden town hall where she knows every question that's coming. She knows every answer she's supposed to give. She'll have an earpiece in telling her what answers to give, one of those type things. She's not going to need the note cards with the pictures on it, but she can at least have letters on her cards. But it will be very strictly and tightly controlled. So one of those, I don't see her ever debating Donald Trump. If she's not debating him, it's because she's not the candidate, or it's because there's a reason why they don't have a debate. Something happens.
I don't debate felons.
That's right. Oh, yes, that's it. I don't debate felons. I'm a prosecutor. I don't debate felons. Yeah, that's it. Okay, this is Grace, and she was about to step on the keyboard, and I can't allow that to happen. Okay, Kamala, let's see. Porch Farm, Kamala was the plan all along. Mango Mush says it was Kamala's Coke in the White House. I have no doubt.
Oh, wow.
Eric, I like that dude. Hermit Sal, no, I would not be ashamed if I did not vote for Kamala. Eric, now I got to follow MW on Twitter. Thank you. Follow Mel. Oh, he already follows you. He's your buddy. So he already follows you. Yes. And then he said Trump is bulletproof. Hermit Sal, America right now is on hold.
It is. It is. America is on hold. And you got to ask yourself, and maybe this was a deal that Joe Biden made, but you have to ask yourself, why isn't it that she didn't just become president? Because wouldn't that solidify her inevitability as president, and wouldn't that help her in the election? And that's what makes me think that they are not all that sure about Kamala. I think it was more like we didn't have a choice.
I see. Yeah. Well, that may have been part of the deal that they made with Dr. Jill, because Dr. Jill, I swear to the last day that they're in there, she's going to be hanging onto the drapes, and the Secret Service is going to be like pulling at her feet to get her out of there. She doesn't want to leave. So I'm sure that was probably part of the deal, is that Joe gets to finish out. He doesn't leave partway in disgrace. He gets to, walk to Air Force, or shuffle off to Air Force One in dignity and off to the home. And I'm sure there's pardons for the entire Biden crime family. Every single one of them are getting pardons. I'm sure, they get to keep their money. It's all been paid off. Absolutely. And they probably get a house on Lake Champlain next to Bernie Sanders.
Oh, probably.
It's part of the deal too.
But
Carl,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, it just makes me think that they're not all that solid with Kamala either. And they're if you recall correctly, like, not in the too distant past, they were trying to get rid of her because she was a drag on a ticket. Now all of a sudden, she's like the most wonderful, just most
Yep.
articulate and insightful and talented political mind that you've ever heard of. Really? Miss, I didn't go to Europe either. I was at the border, but then I wasn't at the border, and then no, I wasn't the border czar. I was actually down there to go to discover root causes. Well, what did you discover, ma'am? And how did that help you secure the border? And then, like 12 billion times, you looked right in the camera and said that the border was secure, while 10 million illegals crossed the border. So,
Yeah.
which is it? She can't evolve her way out of that narrative. She can't.
True, but they're erasing as much of it as they possibly can. Carl says this election is going to define constitutionalism versus communism. That's very true.
Yeah, true.
It's very true. Dan makes a good point here. He lost me on that one. Credibility gone. Credibility gone for that one comment. I don't. I disagreed with that comment, but I don't then throw the baby out with the bathwater. Do you know what I mean? Just because I disagree with you on one point doesn't mean I disagree with you on every point.
Yes, and just because I support you for office doesn't mean I agree with every single solitary thing that you've ever said in life, every public comment that you've ever made, every single policy that you stand for. That doesn't mean that I agree with 150% of that. That means overall I agree with the policies. And this is the thing that is also extremely frustrating about the political space and the level of division right now. Just as you were saying earlier, well, if you don't support Kamala, what kind of black female are you? I'm a thinking one. That's what kind of black female I am. I'm one with a brain and thinks that, as amazing as my aesthetics are, that what is in here is more relevant. My values are more relevant. The Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the Bible, all of these things are what are important to me at the end of the day.
Yeah. No, 100%. Absolutely. Let's see. Eric, going back to Carl's comment about definition of constitutionalism versus communism, said, I don't know, we might be past that point. Which point we're on remains to be seen. That's a good point. All right, let's go. Eric says, Mary, win at all costs, integrity. I sound foolish, but
okay, but when you say at the cost of integrity, what do you mean? This is the other thing that drives me crazy about the left. They're all like, I could never vote for someone like, I actually had this conversation with the lefty today. I could never vote for someone like Donald Trump. It's just because of the character and integrity. I just could never. And I said back to him, I'm gonna need you to put your big boy pants on because we got big boy and big girl decisions to make. We can't afford to be all whiny and weepy. Like when you hire a plumber, do you hire the plumber and say, oh my God, I heard he cheated on his wife? But I know you're like a great plumber, but you cheat on your wife and out of character, I can't have you working on my plumbing. No, we don't do that. We don't do that anywhere else. What policies are going to be going into place?
That's a good point. I like that. I'm using that argument. I love that. I'm going to remember that. Thank you. I'm stealing it, but I will give you credit.
Surgeon example. Like, would you want a surgeon that has like 100% cure rate and is great at his job, but he turns out he's a real jerk, not a real nice guy? Or do you want a mediocre C student type of surgeon who sometimes his patients live, sometimes they die? Who do you want? But he's a great guy, just great bedside manner and, butter would melt in his mouth. Who do you want opening you up and performing surgery? I'll take the jerk, please. I will take him all day, every day. This is not a personality contest. We're not looking to be friends. We're looking for someone to be effective. And there are big things at stake to my point to the lefties. We can't afford to play nice. There's religious liberty at stake. There are countries like China and North Korea and Russia who want to change our way of life, including our religious liberties. So, hey, Christians, do you enjoy going to church every Sunday? Do you enjoy having your Bible app? Because you won't have any of that if China has anything to do with it. So get it together, quit being a baby, and vote policy. Policies that are going to benefit you and the prosperity and health and safety of this country is at stake.
Yes.
So stop being a baby.
Yeah, no, I'm going to use that. I love that argument. Watching your back says Wilco said it best. Republicans hold office, Democrats hold power. Eric says Melanie, MC, great points. Okay. Oh, Star Driver 1 saw Grace jump up on my lap. Yeah, it's dinner time, so the natives are restless. Dan says, okay, I can't get to all the comments. Thank you so much. I love this. Dan says, you think Kamala was set up with Alex Soros and his billions? What's a few million loss? I don't know if she was set up.
I don't
Okay,
know
let me.
either. I think that at first, like when she first was the running mate, that the plan was to have her as president. I don't think they counted on her being quite as inept as she was, and they thought that they could hide the complete incompetence and the cognitive decline of Biden, and kind of sneak her in, because Biden was never running anything anyway, and I think they thought that they could just do it until they got found out. The same thing is probably going to happen with Kamala. They're going to
Right.
find out how absolutely inept she is, because she's gonna say or do something really dumb. I don't think she can help herself, especially since, from what I understand, she's not a person who's big on doing her homework or like doing that whole study
Right.
thing. That's a problem. If you're not even studying well enough to fake it, you're problematic. That's a problem.
Yeah, you ain't gonna make it. I want to go off of this. Oreo 2016 says identity politics is not the answer. On that note, I want to share this with you. This is from the Kamala's event with white women yesterday. And here we go. Watch this.
I just got word that the White Women's Summit for the election is. So I'm gathered my white woman, and we're going to sit down and watch this Zoom.
Known as Mrs. Frazzle to her combined audience of over 1.5 million followers.
Why do we need to know how many followers she has? I'm confused already.
Is here to help gentle parent us through this election.
Gentle parent us.
Thank you.
I'm gonna be honest. I don't like it already. Did you just see the face she made?
Hi, everybody. I am so honored to speak today. I am like shaking to just be among such incredible company. We are here because, as if you were here earlier, you've heard BIPOC women have tapped us in.
Who is BIPOC women? Is that like Tupac? Something like it?
As white women to step up, listen, and get involved this election season. This is a
White women have always voted though. Why would they need to step up this year? I'm confused.
really important time, and we all need to use our voices and influence for the greater good. No matter who you are all influencers in some way.
They ain't influencing me to do shit.
But don't make it about yourself. As white women, we need to use our privilege to make positive changes.
As a white woman, use your privilege for positive changes. Everyone knows this, right?
If you find yourself talking over or speaking for BIPOC individuals, or God forbid, correcting them, just
What?
take a beat. And instead, we can put our listening ears on. So
I try to tell her the same thing, and she'll
do learn from and amplify the voices of those who have been historically marginalized, and use.
Yo, how do y'all listen to these people? I can't imagine having to live with one of these people. How? How is this real life? And who is BIPOC? Is that Tupac's bisexual cousin?
I love it.
The last line was the best. I hope you stayed with it through the last line. It was hilarious. Gregory says, why did they segregate everyone? Like, why? Why did they segregate everybody? So you had to have the white women for Kamala Harris. And then Dan said, vocal fry, oy vey, does this one even have a real job?
They should, the Democrat mantra should be like, Democrats taking us back to segregation, one policy at a time. Like, I just don't, what do you do? They have now, like, instead of segregation, we're calling them affinity groups. Like, if you call them a nice name, now you're literally, remember when, I'm old enough to remember when white people couldn't have their own organizations like that because that was considered racist. But now what we're doing is saying, white people, have your own, because I promise you, if there was a white people for Trump, Like there's a African Americans for Trump, Black Americans for Trump organization. There was a Black Voices for Trump organization in 2020. I promise you, if there was a white Bros for Trump organization, that would not fly and would immediately be flagged as a racist organization. But yet, in Black people, especially my blackity Black people that are repping for Kamala because she's going to break a glass ceiling. Remember this trick when Obama won. Remember this trick? I remember this trick when Obama won. But understand, segregation is not good. It was not good back when it was legal. It's still not good, even if you call it an affinity group and you're repping your presidential candidate. It's never good. It's not okay. And it needs to stop. Don't support this foolishness.
Yeah. Carl says the greater good, keywords for liberalism and leftist politics. Star Driver says Ariel, the woman who was gently parenting them through that we had to listen to. Ariel has cats, lots of cats. And he also says Ariel wears a mask when she's in her car by herself.
She definitely does. She definitely does. And look at how she was really like infantilizing everyone.
Oh, yes.
Just leading.
She talks down to everybody. But see, this is the thing. Liberal white women who are, and usually they're single, though the really annoying ones are single, because as that gentleman said, who can live with these people, right? They're the ones who believe that Black people don't have IDs, right? Which is incredibly racist. So they need white people to advocate for them as to why you can't, because that, and tell people that having an ID is racist. These poor Black people don't have IDs. Now, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say, look, if you need me to help you get your ID and walk you through the process, I'd be more than happy.
I was going
as
to
a white
about
woman
that later, Mary. If you can
yeah,
help
I'll
me.
shepherd you through that, Melanie. I'd be happy to do that.
Please do.
Absolutely.
I cannot. With
I
these
know.
people, it is highly insulting, and I have to say, it's even more insulting, particularly as a Black woman. It's just chaps my hide.
I love that.
Like if somebody ever said to me, "Hey, listen, we were looking for a Black woman to hire, so if you could come on over here and take this job because I was looking for a Black woman," and I was like, "Well, you know, I have like 20 years experience in this space, and I have a master's degree, and." You know, all of the things.
Right,
like
the things.
Oh,
yeah.
well, listen, we don't really need to be concerned about that as much as we need to be concerned about your immutable qualities, like the fact that you're a Black woman. Who signs up for that and says that is okay and is not insulted? It is so insulting. And leftists were the ones who did it.
Yep. No, I agree. Star Driver says 50% of liberal white women under 30 suffer from mental illness. The other 50% get along with it just fine. All right, I want to go, since we're talking about putting people into groups. This just dropped, and so if you're gonna be especially watching Wendy Bell tomorrow, this is going to be a little, you'll know ahead of everybody else. Oh, hold on, let me just bring this up. Present. Share screen. I just got to get the right one because otherwise it pops onto the screen. There we go. Okay, here we go. This just dropped. I cannot believe they're going with this.
She can get bills passed in Congress that'll protect me and you.
Black, white, Latino, Asian, or LGBTQ.
She could get this country back to where we can stand tall. Keeping us safe from harm without feeling alone. 'Cause she's a woman, W-O-M-A-N. I'll say it again. She's a woman, K-A-M-A-L-A.
Yeah. We don't need to see that twice, do we? I don't think we need to see that twice.
We don't.
I'm trying
and I
to
would
figure
argue,
out
and I
how.
make this argument all the time, that if at least two of those women had to actually spend a reasonable amount of time in a woman's body, they'd rush right back to their male bodies pretty quick, because it ain't a walk in the park.
Can I just? Here's my question though. Define woman for me. Like
Oh,
Kamala
well,
Harris is a woman and I should vote for her because she's a woman. Well, what's a woman?
well, from what I understand, it's whenever you say you're a woman. I mean, throw on a wig and a pair of heels and a dress, little makeup, voila, magical woman. So,
Now,
so
that being said, I love a good drag show. I think it's hilarious. I think it's an art form. It's entertainment. However, if you're 6'4" and you're 250 pounds and you got a beard and you want me to call you Tiffany, it's probably not going to happen, right? That's probably not going to happen. If it's a drag show and that kind of thing, I love it. I think it's talented. What an art form. God bless you. But when you parade around in public like that and pretend that it's real, I'm not partaking in your fantasy. I don't think I should. And you could do it. I truly don't care if you do it. It doesn't bother me at all. Knock yourself out. Doesn't bother me. But when you start to force me into compliance with speech, etc., your rights end where mine begin, and that's where you lose me. Up until that point, I don't care. You're not my problem. It's none of my business. Doesn't bother me in the least. I don't want you in the classroom teaching my children that way, right? So to me, it's time and place for everything. But again, if your place is, at the farmer's market with, these huge gazongas and, all the makeup at the clown, the drag makeup and the hair and you're, 8 feet tall, whatever, and you want the attention, okay,
but
okay.
I'm not calling you ma'am. No, I'm not doing like. I mean,
Exactly.
and
Exactly.
I don't listen. Grown folks can do whatever they want, but there's certain things that you don't expose children to, for example, because it's
Exactly.
confusing for them. You don't force teachers to call students by their preferred gender in a classroom. And then when you call home, you call them by the gender that's on their birth certificate. Like that, those kinds of things, to your point, compelling speech. And as a former educator, I can tell you that has been happening in the classroom for quite some time.
Yeah.
And those are the kinds of things. There are a lot of people who are not okay with those kinds of policies that will still vote for Kamala Harris because she's a Black woman. And that is where I have a big problem, because you are literally voting against your own interests. And it does not make any sense. It's just not, I don't know. It's just not, it doesn't seem like an intellectually sound practice.
Right, right. I agree. I agree. And I just can't believe that that's what they're going with, to just divide us more. But that's what it's about. It's about dividing and putting us in groups. And this group is better than that group. It's oppressor and oppressed, right? And women are oppressed. So Trump's an oppressor, Kamala's a victim, right? She's oppressed. He's an oppressor. She is oppressed just by virtue of gender. And he's white and was she black? Can I ask that question? As a white woman, I feel like I'm in dangerous territory here because I see black people on X all the time saying she ain't black. She's Jamaican and Indian. She ain't black. And her great grandfather, was it, or great grandfather, had slaves. He had a plantation and owned black people. So, which we're just kind of shoving that right under the rug.
We're gonna gloss on
Right.
over that. Yeah.
So is she black? What is because I feel like it's a
Ma'am,
minefield for a
listen.
white girl.
Well, I think it's I call her situationally black. So, but
Uh,
and here's the thing that I
like
don't
Hillary. She's like Hillary. She's got hot sauce in her
exactly.
pocketbook.
So here's the thing. She does these like supposedly black things, like I use hot sauce and I cook collard greens and wash them in my bathtub. Those are like pandering things, and for me, it's really more about culture than it is about color, and that's where the left loses. Jamaicans, she is half Jamaican and half Indian, right? What
Right,
culture does
right.
she identify with the most? I would argue probably the Indian culture. Now, it could be said, by proxy, she's African American because Jamaicans are originally from Africa, right? So, okay,
I
so
don't know. Are
maybe
they? I don't know. They're
I
close
believe
to the
so.
equator. They could be black, right?
I was actually doing some research on this the last couple of days because I wanted to figure it out myself, because I was like, well, are Jamaicans African? Like what's happening here? But they are black. But again, it's really about culture. It is about culture. You could be, and this has been my whole issue with identity politics from the door. It is not implausible for a Black person. I'll tell you, I grew up in a predominantly white area. When people ask me about what's going on in the Black community, I'm like, I don't know. It's only 4% Black people where I live. I don't know like what the standard is to be considered part of a Black community. I don't know if you just have to be Black or do you have to actually live in a Black community, and like what are the characteristics of a Black community. I don't know what the stats are, okay, but I do know this, that where I live is 4% Black, and it's probably my lived experience is probably not the same lived experience as somebody who grew up on the south side of Chicago. A Black person. It's not the same lived experience as my stylist who's from Senegal. Okay.
Right.
She's a Black woman, but we did not have the same cultural experiences. And because she's from Senegal, you know, she has a culture that is embedded. She's an immigrant from Senegal. So her experience is not the same as mine. So stop using color, because it's not about the color at all.
Yeah. So Jamaicans are primarily of sub-Saharan African descent, but there is a significant part of the population that is of Caribbean origin.
Yes, but I thought Caribbean origin was also originally Black, though. So you got
I don't know. I mean, people got there somehow. Who knows? You know, they could have come from South America.
But isn't it all irrelevant though? Because it really is about how you identify. Like if tomorrow Kamala decides that she's identifying as a whole white woman, then we got to say, well, Kamala, actually, we're not breaking any ceilings at all. She's actually a white woman, and keep it pushing. Because from their perspective, it is
right. You can do that.
Right? It's about how you identify. Period.
Yeah. All right. Very quickly get to somebody, and then we're going to end on something good. We're going to end on a good note here, something totally different. And I want to get there because I know it's been over an hour. So I got work to do. Melanie's got stuff to do. I'm sure you all do. So, but this has been such a great conversation. Lauren says, Mary, really? Now, Lauren, I give her a lot of credit because Lauren is a Democrat. So Lauren is more liberal, but I give her credit. Props to her for joining. And I welcome everybody. You know, Lauren, if you want to make a comment, ask a question, I welcome it. And I'm not going to, I hope you know, we're not going to mock you. We're not going to denigrate you in any way. I think that's healthy for a good conversation. So if you would like to do that, please do. I think it would be great.
I love to talk to Democrats. Love it.
So for the drag queen videos commercial, it said, "Oh my God, what is that?" Oreo says, "Banging my head on a desk." Lisa's going to be there tomorrow. Great. Eric says, for the drag queen thing, they know what a woman is today.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. Porch View Farm, I don't know what we were talking about because this was 3 minutes ago. I've had clients tell me that, Melanie, we want to see only this type of candidate. I won't recruit for companies like that. It's illegal under EEOC laws, and I take my recruiting seriously.
Yes, ma'am, it certainly is illegal.
Yeah.
Super illegal. Not allowed to do that.
So I said, define a woman. Dan says, you want to define a woman? Make me a sandwich. That's hilarious. That's the other thing. The left has no sense of humor. A woman on the left would take that's sexist. It's hilarious. My husband would never look at me and go, "Make me a sandwich, woman." Like if he did, he said it seriously, he'd be making his own sandwich. But it's a joke.
It's the bummer about being in this space. It's the total bummer that you can't have fun. You can't cry. And Trump has a very good sense of humor, and a lot of times stuff he says, like he's kidding around. He's joking. And if you see the whole context of what he said, he's kidding around or he's being sarcastic. And they're still talking about, he said he was going to be a dictator on day one. Like he was talking about being the next Mao. No, and that's a bold-faced lie.
Yeah.
And they're still saying it. And that's what's like, play it honest. Play it straight. You know that was a lie.
He clarified it, right? He said it. When I say that, I mean,
yes,
I will be a dictator but they take all that part out. He
said it. He said, when I said that, I mean, we're going to drill, baby, drill, and I'm going to close the border. That's exactly what he said. And they keep saying he said he was going to be a dictator on day one. And I said he was talking about with executive orders, which every president, he's talking about signing executive orders, which every president does. Biden signed like 90 on his first day, executive orders. What are you talking about?
Yeah, no, but they don't know what they're talking about, and that's the problem because they're very emotionally driven, in my humble opinion.
I agree.
And you're
Yeah.
challenging their feelings with facts, and that's a hard thing. Hermit
Mm.
Sal says, we have the Congressional Black Congress. I'm waiting for a white Congressional Congress. After all, fair is fair, right?
Caucus. He's talking about the CBC, the Congressional Black Caucus, I
Yes,
think.
yes. I think that's what he means. Yeah. Let's see. Ron, the expanded definition of woman gives them a larger target audience. So if everybody's a woman, there you go. I feel like a woman, so I'm going to vote for them. Lisa says they have no clue what a woman is. Let's see. Hermit Sal, if people of color cannot get ID for voting, how do they get driver's licenses, buy booze and tobacco? Well, don't you know they roll their own, and
Listen, listen.
and they get the hooch on the black market.
It is so, oh, and a lot of people can't afford ID. Like, what does an ID cost? $10? $5? Like, what is an ID? What does an ID cost? And you know what? And there's a way to, let's just say that that's true, right? That there's people who can't afford to get IDs. I would be completely willing. I'm not for big government or more government spending, but there's a program I could get behind. If you want to have people get valid IDs and you want taxpayers to pay for the $5 for people who can't afford to get IDs, do it. But
Yep.
that's not saying that Black people are not intelligent enough to get IDs, that it's not, they don't have access. Like, because if you can get to the polling place to vote, I feel like you can get to the ID place to get your ID.
But it's racist at its core,
At its core.
right?
Yes.
Every time people say, I'm like, oh my, that is just the most racist thing to say, that black people need liberal women's help. Let's get to Star Driver 1. Here's a reminder to Ariel. She was the woman in that Kamala, White Women for Kamala. She was the mother. She was the woman who was going to gently mother us or gently parent us through the conversation. Here's a reminder to Ariel and all of those supporting Kamala. Her and Biden's policies allowed an illegal back into the U.S. who raped and bashed Laken Riley's skull in with a rock. There you go.
Yeah. What about
And
that woman?
yeah,
What
and what
about all
about
the Black and brown women that have come across that border and are being trafficked right now? What about those children? What about the 85,000 children that they have lost track of? What about them? What about those girls? You're for girls
Yep.
and women? Put up or shut up. Your policies are certainly not.
No, I agree. Let's see, because we're going to play off of that comment with our next segment here. Everybody talking about, Carl says, Wendy Bell proclaims that her most valued personal wealth is motherhood. Oh, that's nice. Apparently, Kamala is also part Irish, which I did not know that.
As am I.
Porch View Farm says Browntown is named after her family. Not Porch View Farms, after Kamala's family. I have to look that up.
Interesting.
Mama's 100% Indian. Her dad was a mix because Jamaicans there's a lot going on there.
So
Yeah.
if anything, she's multiracial like Obama. So why are we, but she's going to identify as Black, but again, situationally Black. She seems to only identify as Black when it is beneficial to her, when she can pander to Black folks.
Ron says, totally agree with you on culture. Star Driver says Kamala is ghost Black. She's half 7-Eleven, half Haymon. Dear Lord.
Oh, dear.
Oh,
my. Now you sound like Joe Biden.
No, yes, Joe Biden. Wasn't he the one who talked about all the Indians who work in the 7-Eleven? Yeah, there you go. I think that's what he was referring to.
I'm sure it is.
I think that's the joke he was making there. Eric is zippering up his mouth. He said, I know too much, and he just started laughing. Star Driver says, Mary Melanie is a great guest. Bring her back soon.
Oh, well, thank you.
Lauren says, Project 2025. Tell us. Well, Project 2025 was a product of the Heritage Foundation that Trump disavowed, so much so that the Heritage Foundation has now discontinued that project, and the head of it has stepped down, and Trump praised that happening. So Project 2025 being hung on Trump was done by the left. That was not even his product. He put out his own agenda. And he put out his own agenda, and it wasn't Project 2025. So that was a product of the media and the left.
It was. And I'll tell you that I was in the education work group for Project 2025. So I have firsthand knowledge of Project 2025. And I will tell you that project started. And first of all, it was a group of think tanks that worked on Project 2025. Project 2025 started way before we even knew that Trump was going to be the candidate, and the Trump campaign had nothing to do with it. Also, understand that think tanks are not allowed by law to rep any particular candidate, or else they get huge fines for that. So it had nothing to do with the Trump campaign. And I'm not disavowing the work that was done. I don't know. I have not read the complete final product, but what I can say is that it was not the Trump campaign that worked on that. To your point, Mary, that was something that the left tried to tie around the neck of President Trump. And it was a complete and total lie. It was buffoonery. And like I said, I was there. I was there when it started. So I can tell you, we didn't even know he was going to be the candidate when that project started.
But kudos to Lauren for asking. We asked her to jump in, and I'm glad
I
because
appreciate that.
Yeah, I appreciate that as well. So thank you so much. Star Driver says most states an ID is free. Let's see.
True.
An ID is required to get welfare, food stamps, housing, etc. So if you want to go with the left stereotype of black people, then they need that, right? Yeah, Star Driver also says,
and
Melanie,
like, I don't know one black person that does not have ID. Typically, people who don't have IDs, it's because they're up to some shenanigans. Black, white, purple, blue, whatever. I mean, if you don't have an ID, there's like usually like a illegitimate reason why you don't have an ID. None of them good.
And Suze loves Jeffy, and Manglemush just found each other on here. They're both WPHT fans. So they just this is Manglemush's first foray onto the podcast. So they just found each other. So that's great. Star Driver says it's over 100,000 kids that are lost now. They just don't they don't update. Suze loves Jeffy says she's late. She'll be rewatching. Thank you. There was a rough start. Something happened, and Hermit Sal said that he was stuck in a loop on here about 10 minutes ago. So how am I stuck in a loop if it's live? So I don't know what's happening with YouTube. Something's going on.
I did post a new link on the thread that I posted on Facebook because I was getting text messages like, where is it?
Yeah, okay, good. Eric says that's news regarding 2025. Yeah. Heritage is kind of slimy on the Constitution. Well, I did work for them for like 2 days. So there's that. Trump was never affiliated with that. Yes. Thank you, Melanie, for clarifying Project 2025. Now, last thing, and we're out of here because I've got cats that need to be fed, and I have to put together a show for tomorrow because Brock is awaiting my audio, so I have to do that too. Suze loved Suze was stuck as well. She said she was stuck in a loop too. So
okay,
something's happening with YouTube. So that's not us because we have not had anything problems between us. We've had no
we've been fine.
Glitches. Yeah, we've been good. So that's a transmission problem on their part. So and maybe too many of us are receiving the streaming. I don't think that's the problem. So one of the things we were talking about defining a woman, right? And you brought up, why don't you want women who are raped by and assaulted by people coming over the border illegally that are being allowed to come over the border. We talk, how they're disenfranchising a whole bunch of women, and they pick and choose which women are valuable and which aren't. And Joe Biden's Title IX, his rewriting of Title IX, has just been pushed back now, again, slapped down by another judge representing another area of the country. And one of the things that really bothers me is there are so many young female athletes in this country who don't get scholarships, who don't get to move on to bigger teams because they are competing against biological boys. And I'm sorry, if you go through puberty as a boy, when you come out the other side, I don't care how many hormones you take, your muscles you still have more muscle mass because they were formed when you were a boy. You're still taller, your bones are stronger, your body's laid out differently, and that's the way it is. So with that being said, and very quickly, Lauren said, thank you for the 2025 response. I've watched his videos. Why does D say vote for me or you're gone? Does she mean Donald Trump says vote for me or you're gone? I think what he's saying is vote for me or like this is gone. There's not going to be any more votes. They've already done a coup in front of our eyes and didn't care about it to take out the duly elected, the democratically elected candidate for the Democrat Party. They took him out. That's a coup. That's called a coup. And they installed the person they wanted who received zero primary votes. Zero primary votes. Woman hasn't received one. That's called a coup. And what Donald Trump is saying is that if they're allowed to do that, there's not going to be any more.
That's
votes.
Exactly right. And here's the other thing. I would encourage Laura, and again, kudos to her for being here. To when you see these sound bites and these clips of President Trump, Go if Google will let you find it. I encourage you to use
DuckDuckGo. DuckDuckGo.
Go and look at the entire rally. Go and look at the entire interview. Even the question about him being a dictator. That was a Sean Hannity interview. And if you watch the whole thing from the beginning, like Sean Hannity was being a wise ass, like, are you going to be a dictator? Ha ha ha.
Right.
Like, if you watch the whole thing, you will understand, and quite honestly, should be angry that the left has manipulated you and used this message by taking it out of context. And this is, sadly, you can't afford to take these kinds of risks as a politician, because this is what we know the left will do. But I would encourage you, as impalatable, do it in secret. Don't tell your lefty friends that you're going to go actually watch a Trump rally. Go actually watch an entire Trump interview. And I'm telling you, the energy that the left says that is behind a Trump comment is not the energy that was intended in that interview or during that rally. You got to watch the entire thing to get the vibe and to understand who this person is.
So many people are saying that they love meeting you. So it's fantastic.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for having me, Mary.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you to everyone. I'm back on Wendy Bell tomorrow. I will be back there. You can watch the show. You can watch. They also have video on X and on Rumble, or you can listen locally if you're in I think it's Western Pennsylvania, some stations there. And you can also catch it on the Wendy Bell radio app. You can look for that, or you can go to wendybellradio.com and listen there as well. I don't know if they run a video there or not. Also, Thursday and Friday, I will be on PHT with Kale and Company, 6 to 10 a.m. with the boys, keeping them in line. And then on Monday, I'm back on the Chris Salcedo Show between 4:30 and 5 with Mike Reagan. It's Mike and Mary on Monday on the Chris Salcedo Show on Monday. So between 4:30 and 5 on Newsmax TV. Now, anything you would like to plug, young lady?
Absolutely. You can follow me on the X at NJGOP Diva. I didn't name myself that. It just is.
I love it. I love it.
And my radio show is How Money Works with Melanie Collette. Go to my Facebook page, like the page, get some good money advice. It's all good. Thank you, Miss Mary.
I love that. Thank you so much. And thank you to everyone. We really appreciate you joining us. Thank you. I'm going to let you go, and I'm going to say goodbye to the crew here. Thank you so much for joining us, Melanie. Really appreciate everyone for joining us today. You guys are fantastic. This was so much fun. We will do it again next Tuesday. In the meantime, I hope you have a very safe week, and God bless you. Thank you so much.